Hey, Shalom Israel, Brother Reggie Jr. here. So today, guys, I'm going to be reading Leviticus chapter 15, just picking up where I left off from last time. And in this chapter, guys, we're going to be dealing with the laws of uncleanness as it pertains to bodily fluids or bodily discharges. And that's whether it's voluntary or involuntary. All right. So with that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Leviticus chapter 15 and verse 1. And it says, And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when any man or woman, because you know women come out of a man, so when it's talking about man, it's talking about both, okay, have a running issue out of his flesh, okay, whether that's voluntary or involuntary, all right, because of his issue, he is unclean. And I'm going to take you to an example of a woman that had a issue. Okay, she had bodily fluids that she dealt with that came out of her constantly for years, and she was looking to be clean. All right, let's go ahead and go to Matthew chapter 9. All right, Matthew chapter 9, and I'm going to read verses 19 through 22, okay? And it says, And Jesus arose and followed him, and so did his disciples. And behold, a woman which was diseased with an issue of blood 12 years, okay? So she had a disease, all right? And this disease caused an issue of blood, and she dwelt with this for 12 years. Can you imagine? 12 years, man. That's a long time, okay? And it said she came behind him and touched the hem of his garment. For she said within herself, meaning within her mind, if I may but touch his garment, if I could just touch his garment, I don't even got to say nothing to him, anything like that. But if I could just get to him and just touch him, I shall be whole. And then verse 22, Jesus turned about him. And when he saw her, okay, because she came behind him and she touched the hem of his garment. So Jesus turned around, okay, and looked at her. And he said, Daughter, be of good comfort. Thy faith have made thee whole. And the woman was made whole from that hour. So Jesus made this woman clean, okay? But see, the power was in the faith. The power was her faith in him, okay? That's what cleansed her. And that's what the Lord has always been trying to show Israel. You want to be healed from your incurable wound that you have? All you need to do is have faith and believe in me and be obedient. And I can turn the nation of Israel from this mess they in. I can turn y'all to prominence. He could do it easily, but the problem is we don't have any faith. And that's why we're in the position that we're in. We are this woman right here that has the issue of blood. We this woman right here. Okay, but it's only a few of us that's going to seek after Christ and touch the hem of his garment. Okay, and be cleansed. But others, they going to stay with this issue of blood. Why? Because they don't have no faith. They don't seek Christ. So that guess what? They're going to stay unclean. All right. And see, this is what I love about Jesus. Jesus has the power to heal. And that's what I love about him and his priesthood. He actually had the power to change the lives of brothers and sisters. See, that other priesthood, they didn't have that power. They didn't have the power to change lives. All they did was sit in the seat of the judge. That's all they did, judging people, examining them. You clean, you're unclean, but not Christ. When he came, he examined and then he healed. That's what he did. So that's the power in Jesus. And that's how that's That's how you know that Levitical priesthood, it was imperfect. All right. They were just put in the place that they were for the time being to be an example to Israel about what Christ would do when he came on the scene. Okay. It's as simple as that. All right. But we're going to go ahead and go back to Leviticus 15, guys. And we're going to go ahead and read this thing out. And again, I suggest you all, read these chapters for yourself. Don't just click on the video and follow with me. Read for yourself, because it's a lot of nuggets and a lot of jewels that you can get out of these chapters. But, most Israel, they skip this kind of stuff because they don't feel that these things are important. But they don't realize there's so much meaning. There's so many parables and symbology, personification. Okay, they miss all of those things because they deem chapters like Leviticus 15 to be unimportant. Oh, it's just to my it's just to my bodily fluids and bodily discharge. There ain't nothing in that. I want to go to something more interesting. I'm gonna go to that Daniel, look at them 4 beasts. Yes, sir. Go to Genesis 25, get to read about some Esau. That's all our people concerned about. Okay. But this stuff right here, and all of the Bible's important, but this right here, man, these are the chapters that Israel need to read right here. So much you can get out of this. But again, we are a carnal people. Okay. We only want to be involved in stuff and look at stuff that make us feel good. Okay. And what make us feel good? The 4 beasts, Jacob and Esau, the Garden of Eden. Those are the things. Book of Revelation, Christ's return, blood up to the horse's bridle. That's the kind of stuff that interests Israel. We like that kind of stuff. But everything outside of that, we consider that to be boring. And that's just how the Lord wanted. Because he's rooting out and weeding out those who love him and those who don't. The Lord is a genius. Okay. Now we're going to continue, guys, and we're going to read this out. Verse 3. Okay. Says, and this shall be his or her uncleanness and his issue, whether it is his flesh run with his issue or his flesh be stopped from his issue, it is his uncleanness. So we talking about blood here. We're talking about, you get a cut and stuff, and the pus, you get a wound or something like that, and pus start coming out and all that stuff. That's stuff the Lord talking about. Okay. Verse 4, or stuff get infected. Okay. And then it's leaking fluid. That's the kind of, that's the stuff the Lord's talking about. You were considered unclean. Verse 4, every bed whereon he lieth that have the issue is unclean, and everything whereon he sitteth shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth his bed shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean unto the even. And he that sitteth on anything whereon he sat, that have the issue, shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean unto the even. All right. And he that toucheth the flesh of him that have the issue shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean unto the even. All right. And remember, when you were unclean, you couldn't go to that to the sanctuary, to the temple. You couldn't go in there because you were considered ceremonially unclean, and the Lord didn't want you going in there. All right. Verse 8, and if he that have the issue spit upon him that is clean, then he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean unto the even. And what saddle soever he rideth upon that have the issue shall be unclean. Okay. And whosoever touches anything that was under him shall be unclean unto the even. And he that beareth any of those things shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean unto the even. And whomsoever he toucheth that have the issue, and have not rinsed his hands in water, He shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean unto the even. And the vessel of the earth that he toucheth, which have the issue, shall be broken, and every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water. And when he that have an issue is cleansed of his issue, then he shall number to himself 7 days for his cleansing, and wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in running water, and shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take him 2 turtle doves and 2 young pigeons, and come before the Lord unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and give them unto the priests. And the priest shall offer them, the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him before the Lord for his issue. And if any man's seed of copulation go out of him, talking about his seminal fluid, then he shall wash all his flesh in water, and be unclean unto the even. And every garment and every skin whereupon is the seed of his copulation, meaning the seminal fluid, shall be washed with water, and be unclean unto the even. The woman also with whom the man shall lie with seed of copulation, okay, they shall both bathe themselves in water, and be unclean unto the even. So when a man inseminating a woman, they're considered both unclean, okay, and they had to bathe themselves in water afterwards, and they were unclean unto the even. And that's why when Jesus, when he came down on that mountain, remember he told the men, he said, look, come not at your wives. Why? Because they would be considered unclean. And remember, Lord don't want nothing unclean around him, okay? Verse 19. If a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be set apart 7 days, and whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean unto the even. And everything that she lied, and see, when it's talking about unclean and everything, we got to remember too, a lot of this stuff pertained to this sanctuary, this temple that was up, because remember, when you were unclean, you were considered like unceremonially clean, so you could not go into the temple. A lot of stuff was based around that temple, okay? But see, the Lord, he is that. But see, we didn't understand the Lord was that temple. We were the temple, okay? But that's a whole nother lesson. I'm just trying to keep it simple, brothers and sisters. So let's keep on reading. All right. Verse 20. And everything that she lieth upon in her separation shall be unclean. Everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean unto the even. And whosoever touches anything that she sat upon shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean unto the even. And it shall be on her, and if it shall be on her bed, or on anything whereon she sitteth, when he toucheth it, he shall be unclean until the even. And if any man lie with her at all, and her flowers be upon him, he shall be unclean 7 days, okay? And all the bed whereon he lieth shall be unclean. And if a woman have an issue of blood many days out of the time of her separation, or if it run beyond the time of her separation, meaning after she's given birth to a child, all the days of the issue of her uncleanness shall be as the days of her separation. She shall be unclean. Every bed whereon she lieth all the days of her issue shall be unto her as the bed of her separation. And whatsoever she sitteth upon shall be unclean, and the uncleanness of her separation. And whosoever toucheth those things shall be unclean, and shall wash his clothes, and shall bathe himself in water, and be unclean unto the even. But if she be cleansed of her issue, then she shall number to herself 7 days, and after that she shall be clean. And on the 8th day she shall take unto her 2 turtles and 2 young pigeons, and bring them unto the priest to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall offer the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for her before the Lord for the issue of her uncleanness. Thus shall ye separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, that they died not in their uncleanness. If you can't see the spiritual meaning in that, again, I don't know what to tell you. When they defiled my tabernacle that is among them. All right. This is the law of him that have an issue, and of him whose seed goeth from him, and is defiled therewith, and of her that is sick of her flowers, and of him that have an issue, of the man and of the woman, and of him that lieth with her, that is unclean. And I hope you guys got some understanding in that chapter, and I will see you in the next one. Shalom.